Kanda Accra. I am Martin Aseidu Dartey.
And I am Portia. Gabor coming up tonight.
News360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
Tonight, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu files interlocutory injunction to halt her suspension.
Also tonight, Supreme Court dismisses 2 more injunction applications seeking to restrain the work of the Committee of Inquiry probing petitions for the removal of suspended Chief Justice.
And later in the bulletin, some traders at Kimbu and Mokola back on the street a day after a major decongestion exercise.
In business news tonight, ahead of policy rate announcement, Bank of Ghana assures of sustained cedi gains and disinflation process amid economic recovery.
Later on the international front, U.S. President Donald Trump confronts South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa at the White House. TV3news.com. Be part of the show. We always love to hear from you.
The news now in detail, and the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu has filed an interlocutory injunction at the Supreme Court seeking to halt the work of the 5-member committee established by President Mahama to inquire into the 3 petitions against her removal from office. In a suit filed on May 21 and cited by 3 News, Justice Tokonu is praying the court for an order to restrain the committee from taking any action in connection with the prima facie case determined against her. She also wants the court to restrain Justice Scott Puaman and Justice Samuel Kwame Aseidu from participating in proceedings of the committee established to inquire into petitions against her. My colleague Martin is standing by to take us through the injunction filed by the Chief Justice herself, Martin.
Certainly. Now, it looks as though the Chief Justice now is taking the issues personally. So, these are the respondents to the suit filed by the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, I should say. The respondents are the current Attorney General, Justice Gabriel Puamang, Justice Samuel Adibu Aseidu, Daniel Yaldomlevo, Major Flora Bazwanura Dalugo, and Professor James Sefa Jifa. Now, it's important we get you to see these respondents because of the specifics that the Chief Justice is seeking. First, she says she's praying the Supreme Court to give an order restraining the committee set up by the President inquiring into the 3 petitions that have been filed against her. And she's specifically asking that these respondents, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, 5th, and 6th defendants from proceeding with the inquiry or carrying themselves as part of the committee and asking that action be taken. They should not take any action in connection with the determination of a purported prima facie case made against the complainant. Now, so you know, I mentioned 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Who are the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th respondents? They are Justice Gabriel Puamang, Justice Adibu Aseidu, Yaldomlevo, Major Flora Dalugo, and Professor James Sefa Jifa. So these are the 4 individuals the Chief Justice is asking that they be taken off or be restrained from acting on the orders of the President as part of the committee set up to look into the petitions that have been filed against her. Again, she's asking for an order restraining the 2nd and 3rd specifically from presiding over or participating in the proceedings of the committee set up by the President. And finally, she's asking for an order suspending the operations of the warrant for suspension of the Chief Justice purportedly issued by the President under Article 146(10) of the Constitution until the hearing and final determination of the instant action, meaning that she's currently on suspension, but she's asking that the order give a directive so that that suspension given by the president constitutionally be suspended. So it's interesting. You would recall that it was a current member of parliament who actually took the suspension to be suspended case to the court. But the Chief Justice currently is taking the issue into her own hands and going to court herself. Her lawyer is former Attorney General under the just exited MPP government, and he is representing the Chief Justice in court. So let's go to the phone lines now and try and get some legal understanding of all of these issues. Joining us now is the former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansah Asare. Mr. Kweku Ansah Asare, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and good evening.
Thank you. Good evening to you as well. What are your initial thoughts on the fact that many people sought to seek the courts, get redress for the Chief Justice, but this time around she's taken the mantle and has filed to the court herself seeking the Supreme Court to suspend the current committee and prevent them from acting or carrying out the orders of the president?
Well, thank you. I would have wished that we hadn't taken this approach at all, because at the end of the day, if the petitions fail, she'll have to resume and work with the executive. So I would have thought that she will not take this course at all, but she's taking the course, and therefore let's wait and see how it all plays out.
Can you clarify the point you make that if the 3 petitions that have been filed against her, on the back of which we are having all these legal back and forth, does not go through, which will mean that now she will be reinstated as Chief Justice? And you are saying that if that happens, she cannot work with the executive. Is that it?
That's the point I'm making. That those positions she has taken, will sort of mar, an otherwise cordial, relationship, existing between the office of the Chief Justice and the office of the presidency. Given the fact that the Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary and, the chief person to uphold, the Constitution, I think that it's a wrong tactical move on the part of leadership, to herself initiate an action in the Supreme Court, to halt the CJ removal process. I think it's not in good taste.
And then what happens to the earlier cases that were filed in line with the current subject? What happens to those cases now?
Well, those actions were not filed by the Chief Justice herself. They were brought by some lawyers, who felt that they should try to test the correctness of the CJ removal process, the Supreme Court. So no problem with that. The point is that this time around, it is the Chief Justice herself, who has taken the mantle to halt, an otherwise constitutionally laid down process. And my view is that she has heard, to put it mildly.
Right. And maybe finally, before we let you go, would you have advised, if probably your advice was sought by the Chief Justice, that she waited for all of these issues to be settled before maybe thinking of any legal action herself?
Well, we always say that God's time is the best. So she was timing, and she felt that now is the time for her, to act by herself. She's gone in for a lawyer, and then my good friend, the former Attorney General, Gabor, is also seeking to represent, her. So let's see how all of these, play out. But the point I'm making is that I do not see, how her leadership can continue in the, to hold herself out as Chief Justice when she has initiated an action against the executive arm. You see, under the framework of separation of powers, from time to time there must be cooperation. Now, if you sue and you know the cultural traits of bringing an action against a fellow Ghanaian, when you go to the court, they will not even look at each other's face. That is what is going to happen. That's the point I'm making.
Okay. Mr. Gwekwasari, thank you for your time as always. He is the former director of the Ghana School of Law, and clearly, as we've indicated, the Chief Justice has gone to court. Her lawyer is the former Attorney General Godfrey Dame. It's a very fluid situation or issue. We'll keep very close tabs on it and keep you posted subsequently. Back to you, Portia.
Thank you, Martin. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has dismissed 2 more injunction suits seeking to restrain the work of the Committee of Inquiry probing petitions for the removal of the suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. The suit filed by civil society group that's the Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems and a private citizen, Kofi Atakorte, were found to be unmeritorious. A report by Lord Edwasari.
The Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems named the Attorney General, Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo and Justice Gabor as defendants in the suit challenging the processes which led to the dissemination of a prima facie case against the suspended CJ. Lawyers for the civil society group led by Jacob Akwa argue that the president erred in not providing the prima facie determination to Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo before issuing her suspension. He therefore prayed the court to injunct the work of the Committee of Inquiry probing her matter pending the hearing of their substantive case. The civil society group are seeking an interpretation of Article 1468, which stipulates that the hearings of the committees should not be in the public domain. They also argue that documents which ought to be classified had been circulating on social media. But Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai urged the court to dismiss the application, citing the claims by the plaintiff as frivolous. Ruling on the matter, the 5-member panel of justices by a majority decision of 4-1 with Justice Yao Asare-Dakun dissenting, dismissed the injunction after noting that it was without merit. The plaintiff in the matter, Dr. James Bonfrey, reacted after the court's decision.
Well, they have spoken. I will go into conclave with my lawyers and we will advise ourselves. Right.
Even before he could move his injunction motion, lawyer for the second plaintiff, private citizen Theodore Atakorte, the bench advised him and brought to his notice that 2 weeks ago, a similar application seeking the same reliefs, and indeed earlier today, the court had also dismissed a similar injunction, and so advised them to wait until the full reason of the court is out and then he files a suit. Nonetheless, the court advised them or urged them to continue to move his motion. The argument of Joseph Efifa was that the process is being carried out to remove the Chief Justice from the provisions of the Constitution required that non-judicial service members should be guided by guidelines in the Constitution, which was absent, and so he was urging the court to injunct the processes and then restrain the committee from further going on with their work. After his arguments, the Supreme Court dismissed his injunction application by a 4 majority with Justice Yao Asare-Dakun dissenting. The full reason of the court will be made available on May 29. Until then, the work of the committee remains cut out in the investigation of the removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. Sorry, TV3 News.
And we are staying on the court because this particular issue, right from its inception, has had 3 different suits against the order of the president asking the Chief Justice to go on suspension while investigations into the case carries on. So let's look at the individuals and the arguments they made in court justifying why they wanted the Chief Justice to be reinstated or to reverse the order of the president. The first to actually take the issue to court was Vincent Koesifo, a member of parliament for Old Tafo, and he was making the argument that the president violated Article 146 of the Constitution by consulting the Council of State before notifying the Chief Justice to get her response. So that's one of the cases that is in court. The second person to take the Chief Justice's issue to court is Ebenezer Aseidu, who is arguing that the president, again, similar to that of Vincent Esifua, violated Article 146 of the Constitution by consulting the Council of State, again, before allowing the Chief Justice, Madam Gertrude Isaba-Tokonu, to respond, which everybody believes is a simple law of natural justice. And the third person to also take the issue to court is Theodore Kofi Atta-Quote, who argues that the presidential discretion must conform to a published regulation, and this particular point he makes has been heavily disputed by the Deputy Attorney General, and then also he makes a point that the absence of such a regulation renders the process illegal. So it looks as though we are in for the long haul, because the Chief Justice herself, like we indicated earlier, has decided to take up the mantle and fight the case herself. So it's a very fluid situation. We'll keep very close eyes on it, and subsequently we'll update you. On Ghana Tonight later today at 10 p.m. with Alfredo Kanse, they will be dissecting and digging deeper into the injunction that has been filed by the Chief Justice, Madam Gertrude Isaba-Tokonu, and give you the 16 reliefs that she is seeking. So you do want to make a date with Alfred and the team at 10 p.m. Portia?
Thank you so much, Martin. Let's continue with the rest of our stories. And the Western Regional National Security Liaison Officer, Brigadier General Musa Waja retired, has indicated that logistical challenges have become a challenge in the fight against illegal mining in the region. Speaking after an operation by the Western Regional Security Council to clear illegal miners along the Ankobra River in the Evaluate Ajomorojua constituency, he vowed to ensure the river returns to its normal state. Irama Smith has more.
Farmlands, cocoa farms and the Ankobra River are under severe threat due to illegal mining activities along Ampesi, Atongo Junction, Petru and Dominase in the Evaluate Ajomorojua constituency. Our site visit revealed extensive land destruction in the pursuit of gold, with several acres ravaged. Alarmingly, these mining activities are occurring less than a kilometer from the Ankobra River, posing a direct risk of contamination. Kwasi Sabwa, a resident of Ampaisi, notes that those mining in the area are not locals. Ekwa Santoa is a food vendor. She adds that access to clean drinking water has become a big challenge.
Although they operate in our communities, they fail to employ the locals. Instead, they bring people from elsewhere. After extracting sand, they sell it back to us for construction purposes.
On Tuesday, May 20, a joint force of the Ghana Immigration Service, Ghana Police Service, Takoradi Air Force, Western Naval Command and the 2nd Infantry Battalion, led by the Western Regional Minister, Joseph Nelson, launched an operation to crack down illegal miners along the Ankobra River. Items retrieved included 8 excavators, 7 pump-action guns, 66 cartridges and 4 mobile phones. Additionally, several water pumping machines and shelters belonging to the illegal miners were destroyed. Western Region National Security Liaison Officer Brigadier General Musa Waja retired, who vowed to ensure the Ankobra River returns to its normal state, however disclosed that logistics had become a significant challenge in conducting operations.
I want to stress that it's not going to be a one-day operation. That it's going to be sustained. We are going to do more of that and possibly try and then get canoe and sail along the Ankobra River to ensure that this river returns to its normalcy. The most important challenges have been logistics, but that has not impeded our efforts to ensure that we conduct our operation. And the type of devastation that has been done along the banks of the river, certain time also impede our speed of action, our movement and activities. But all the same, we are up to the task, and we think with complete and dedicated efforts with all the stakeholders, we can achieve our goal.
Irama Smith, TV3 News, Ampesi.
In more news tonight, the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission has responded to concerns raised by the environmental group Arocha Ghana, assuring the public that the recent felling of trees along the Atomic Kwabenya Road was a safety-driven exercise. Now, the commission says it was aimed at protecting the lives and property and was done in collaboration with key national agencies. GAEC says the action to cut down selected trees along the Atomic Kwabenya stretch follows years of erosion, storm damage and threats posed by aging trees with exposed roots and overgrown branches. Responding to a statement from Arocha Ghana, the commission clarified that some trees had already fallen in past storms, damaging vehicles and endangering commuters. The Forestry Commission approved the felling of 8 mahogany and 6 leucaena trees and the pruning of 43 others.
Let's now go to the Ashanti region, and it is the second most patronized health facility in Kumasi after Confanochi Teaching Hospital. But the Misha District Hospital is grappling with infrastructure deficits, a situation impeding the delivery of quality health care, while medical staff are working towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goal on universal access to quality health care delivery. The infrastructure gaps remain a major obstacle. A report by Ibrahim Abubakar.
From the outside, everything appears okay here at the Menchia Government Hospital, but a walk to some of the wards paint a picture of severe congestion, a daily struggle for both patients and medical staff. The hospital's outpatient department, originally designed to serve fewer than 200 patients, now attends to over 800 daily, forcing patients into corridors and makeshift waiting areas. The maternity ward is so congested that a temporary space has been created to accommodate the overflow.
The maternity is a very, very active maternity. We have almost about 80 deliveries in a week, so it's a very busy place. If you go to the maternity, you see that maternity is very congested. Otunfo was able to give us a building for us to extend the maternity. We are now trying to equip the building with beds, so we don't have enough beds. So if you go there, you can still see that at times there are clients that are lying on the floor. We still have floor patients.
A broken down incinerator has left medical waste piling up, while a decade-stalled laboratory project forces staff to operate from a makeshift wooden structure. Medical Superintendent Dr. Kamaruddin Hussein says the situation is affecting quality healthcare delivery.
We look at the structure here that has been abandoned for almost 15 years or so, which is supposed to house the lab. So patients will have to move from the OPD. It's a long distance to get to the lab. Patients are not comfortable for them to move that distance to go and do lab and return. Some of them are even patients that have difficulty in moving. So it hampers service delivery.
Management of the facility also raised concern about the health insurance tariff.
The insurance tariff that are given to the hospitals are very bad, woefully inadequate. Recently we have improvement in the drug component of the tariff, which is very nice, very nice. But the service component is not nice, it's very low. So you operate the patient, and the amount of money that you get from the operation is not enough for you to even be able to buy the consumables to operate other patients.
As a major referral facility, hospital management has pointed to expansion and retooling as critical to meet the growing demand for healthcare on the facility. So hospital management acknowledged the challenges, citing increasing number of patients. They are urgently calling on government to intervene to expand the facilities and improve on quality healthcare delivery. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Menshia, Ashanti Urgent.
To some other stories this evening, some traders at Kimbo and Makola have defied warnings by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to vacate the streets. A day after a major decongestion exercise, many of them have returned to unauthorized selling points. Joseph Armstrong has been to the area and reports.
This is the current state of Kimbo in Accra Central, just a day after a decongestion operation by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. The task force, supported by national security and police personnel, carried out the operation under the Resetting Accra agenda. Despite the rains, traders were seen selling in unauthorized locations.
This red line you see here is right on the pavement, and it's supposed to be a demarcation between where the traders can sell and where they cannot sell. But the question is, how sustainable is this? Less than 2 days after the demarcation, you could see some of the traders have already crossed the red line, and even those that are trying to stay within or behind the red line are right at the edge.
According to the traders, they were never instructed to stop selling on the pavement.
They say the red line, do not cross. Do not cross the red line. If you are in the red line, you do not cross the red line.
Meanwhile, the task force continued its decongestion efforts on Wednesday at the Circle Newfront Station, part of a broader strategy to reduce congestion in the capital. Shops and structures erected on pavement were pulled down. According to the task force, the goal is to systematically clear illegal structures and relocate vendors from areas designated for pedestrians and vehicular movement. The initiative is also aimed at enforcing traffic and sanitation laws while improving public safety and mobility in high traffic areas. The mayor of Accra later visited the Gamanche to brief him on the ongoing exercise. In response, the Gamanche expressed his full support for the operation. The decongestion operation is expected to continue on Thursday, May 22nd at Kaneshin and its surrounding areas. Joseph Armstrong, Good and TV3, Accra.
Compassion International Ghana has officially handed over a newly constructed 3-unit classroom block to the chiefs and people of Poru in the Sola-Tuna Kalba district of the Savannah region. The gesture is aimed at improving access to quality education for children in the area and mark a major step towards the organization's commitment to child development.
The project, which began in 2022 and completed in 2024, is to serve more than 221 children currently enrolled in a Compassion International Child Sponsorship Program. In addition to the children from Poru, the school is expected to benefit learners from at least 7 neighboring communities. Speaking at a ceremony to hand over the facility, Director of Compassion International Ghana, Raphael Shi, emphasized that the core mission of the project is to release children from poverty by offering both formal and informal education, including fashion skills. He noted that although the community had many children, only a few of them attend school due to lack of proper facilities.
We saw that there is so many children in the community, and to each surrounding too, there are so many children around, but none of them is willing to come to school, all because the facilities are not available. And the only school building in the community were 3 classrooms. Looking at this challenge, it was not helpful to our children in the community, and because of that, it was not giving morale to those out of the community to also come and join to go to school or have a better education. So it dropped in our mind that why don't we write for proposal? Maybe God will intervene, and through our PF and his manager and the leadership of Compassion International Ghana, We wrote the proposal and then they work on it.
For officials of the Sowa District Education Directorate, the new facility has come to resolve a major challenge for the community.
With this spacious facility being presented to the community, actually it will ease the classroom management of the teachers, and they will deliver effectively when lessons are ongoing, and by so doing, in the larger picture, the children will always get the concept, learn very well, and become our future leaders.
The project is made up of 3-unit classroom block, toilets and 3 offices.
You're still watching News 360 on TV3. Stay with us. When we return, we'll let you know what's happening in the world of business, sports and entertainment. And it's now time for business. Michael Obodu joins us in studio. Hello, Michael.
Hi.
Okay, so what's going on in business?
Well, the governor of the Bank of Ghana is pretty confident that the cedi will remain stable for quite a long while.
Okay.
Sounds like good news.
Hopeful, exactly. We're all hopeful for that.
All right then. Hello there. Good evening and welcome to the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. And the Bank of Ghana is cautioning against premature optimism as it evaluates the balancing act of sustaining disinflation without stalling growth. Speaking at the opening of the 124th Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Accra, Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama noted that despite significant progress made, challenges remain.
Inflation has dropped to 21.2% and the cedi has appreciated sharply, nearly 19% in recent weeks. But Dr. Johnson Esiama says underlying risks remain. In March, the Monetary Policy Committee raised the policy rate by 100 basis points to 28% to help curb inflation.
The appreciation of the cedi reflects a combination of factors, including prudent monetary policy, the improved market sentiment, as well as the external sector gains that we are witnessing. A number of policy questions that confront us for the next 3 days include whether the observed exchange rate appreciation is sustainable.
Dr. Johnson Esiama also signaled ongoing reforms in liquidity control, moving from cash reserve tools to open market operations.
We are transitioning from reliance on the unremunerated cash reserve ratio to a more active open market operations regime, including the use of longer tenor BOG instruments as we announced at the maiden MPC that I had.
The Monetary Policy Committee is expected to announce its next policy rate decision on Friday, May 23, 2025. But with underlying risks still in play, the big question now is whether the central bank will hold steady or hike the policy rate again to lock in these gains.
In a bid to promote women-led businesses in Ghana, the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Agribusiness says it is developing a trade policy aimed at providing equitable access to finance for women. Speaking at the Women in Trade and Investment Forum on behalf of the Sector Minister, the Director of Human Resource Management and Development at the Ministry, Caroline Chapman Ajaman, said the initiative aligns with the objectives of the Affirmative Action Bill.
To ensure women shape trade policies, the Affirmative Action Gender Equality Act of 2024 targets 30% women's representation in decision-making by 2030. The Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry is developing a women in trade policy to provide equitable access to financial resources, technical training, and market linkages, enabling women to become competitive, export-ready entrepreneurs under the AFTA. The significance of women and youth in trade has also resulted in the National AFTA Coordination Office collaborating with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, to commence the Ghana NCO UNDP Cooperation Project for Women and Youth-led SMEs under the AFTA.
Nexans Cable Metal Ghana Limited has commissioned its new 532 kilowatt peak solar plant at its Tema facility, reinforcing its commitment to sustainable electrification. The project aligns with the company's ambitious environmental goals and its science-based target initiative to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050.
Implemented in partnership with Daystar Power, a prominent hybrid solar energy provider and Shell Group member, the 532 kilowatt peak solar plant is expected to generate over 47 megawatt hours of electricity monthly, meeting 55% of the company's daytime power needs. Equipped with 900 photovoltaic panels, this pioneering fully ground-mounted system in Ghana will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 11.7 tons quarterly and cover over 25% of the plant's energy requirements.
We've led the way in terms of opening the market up from the power distribution sector into the residential and other sectors. we are doing that as far as the green energy transition is also concerned. So far, we've saved about 20% of our greenhouse emissions compared to last year. That comes to almost 8 tons of greenhouse gas emissions.
Daystar Power Energy Solutions country manager for Ghana and Nigeria, Victor Ezenwoku, believes going green is important for Ghana's industrialization drive.
During the day, more than half of what they use is coming from the system. It means industrialization for large-scale companies like this in Ghana is possible with solar and is the future because it helps them meet their sustainability targets but also save costs. So they're able to reduce on their power bills, which makes them more profitable. So they can hire more Ghanaians, they can also produce more of their equipment, and they run more efficiently.
As a subsidiary of global cable industry leader Nexans, with operations in over 41 countries, Nexans Cable Metal Ghana Limited continues to innovate and reduce its environmental footprints.
We'll bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market. And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Up next, the sports.
It's now time for sports news, and Ureku Professor already here. Ureku, what's the latest update with the Europa League?
Well, Tottenham just took the lead against Manchester United. We're almost approaching half-time. Right. I see Martin is shaking his head.
Let's see how it goes. Give us the details.
And so we'll bring you more updates on that game. But before we do that, following the successful hosting of the Women's Football Festival over the weekend, the Ghana Football Association President Keto Kreku has reiterated the progress in women's football, especially in the last 5 years. Okreku spoke with 3 Sports exclusively at the festival that saw Police Ladies and Faith Ladies win the Women's Premier League and the FA Cup respectively.
It was a day I was very much looking forward to because it was a day reserved for us to celebrate women's football, and we called that day the Women's Football Festival. Indeed, the 4 teams that walked out of the changing room onto the turf made all of us proud. If you look at the level of the competition, the level of football, the enthusiasm shown by the clubs, the fans who defied the heavy rains to stay and to enjoy the female sport, is something that really, really excited me. And that tells all of us how far the game has come. I think that the investments that we've made in the female sport over the last 5 years is beginning to yield fruits, so to say. Our Black Queens are back to the stage that they belong to, getting ready for the WAFCON. But most importantly, Police Ladies and Faith Ladies deserve all the congratulations that they deserve, because they put up their very best. They gave more respect to the female sport, and I'm looking forward to seeing them compete on the much higher platform.
Well, let's do some more stories here, where after 10 years and 421 appearances with Manchester City, Kevin De Bruyne said goodbye to the Etihad faithful in his final home game with the club. After a 3-1 victory over Bournemouth, Manchester City celebrated their legend one last time. In an emotional message to the fans of the club, the 6-time Premier League winner referred to the Etihad as his home.
Manchester is home. Manchester is where
where England, Scotland, Wales and the Republic of Ireland would not receive automatic entry into the 2028 UEFA European Championship tournament despite being co-host of the competition. UEFA confirmed this decision following the executive committee meeting in Bilbao, outlining a qualifying process that includes all 4 host nations. Instead of direct qualification, the co-host will compete the usual qualification phase with 12 groups of 4 or 5 teams vying for 24 spots in the finals. The group winners and the 8 best runners-up will qualify automatically, but a contingency plan is in place in case any of the hosts fail to book their spot. If any of the 4 fail to secure a place to the group stage, the 2 best ranked amongst them will be rewarded one of the reserved slots in the tournament. Now, before we go, it's halftime in the Europa League final between Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United. It still remains 1-0 in favour of the London-based club, but there's a lot of minutes left to play in that one with the second half to look forward to. You can get updates and reactions of that on our social media handles at 3SportsGH. My name is Ureku and entertainment is up next.
stand to tell the jury about his brief relationship 14 years ago with the Combs' ex-girlfriend, the R&B singer Cassie. Prosecutors say Combs was so upset about the relationship that he arranged to have Cody's convertible firebombed, according to court filings. And now to some more news. U.S. singer Chris Brown has been freed on bail by a court in London after being charged with inflicting an unprovoked attack in a nightclub in 2023. The Grammy-winning star, who has not yet been asked to enter a plea in the case, is able to begin his world tour next month as planned as part of his bail conditions. He was arrested last week and later charged with grievous bodily harm over an incident in which he allegedly attacked a producer with a tequila bottle at a nightclub in London's Mayfair. The 36-year-old was not present at Southwark Crown Court for Wednesday's bail hearing, at which the judge said he must pay £5 million security fee to the court. And finally, in a move aimed at deepening institutional collaboration and strengthening oversight, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Tourism, Culture, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs has paid a familiarization visit to the Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Abla Jifa Gomashi. The meeting sought to foster strong ties between the legislative and executive arms of government to enhance policy implementation and service delivery in the cultural and tourism sectors. Minister of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Jifa Gomashi, emphasized the ministry's readiness to work closely with Parliament to leverage legislative support for the promotion of Ghana's cultural identity and the growth of the tourism sector. Highlighting recent milestones, the minister celebrated Ghana's successful inscription of the iconic Kente fabric on UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. But that'll be it for the entertainment news segment here on News360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you so much, Noella. Coming up, international news.
U.S. President Donald Trump confronted South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa at the White House on Wednesday with the most contentious areas of dispute between the countries, including Trump's claims of a white genocide. South Africa rejected the allegation that white people are disproportionately targeted by crime. Trump played a video that purported to show evidence of a genocide of whites. Ramaphosa mostly sat expressionless while the video was played, occasionally craning his neck to look at it. Trump said the video showed the graves of thousands of white farmers. Ramaphosa said he had not seen that before and that he would like to find out what the location was. Trump then displayed printed copies of articles that he said showed white South Africans who had been killed, saying, "Death, death," as he flipped through them. Ramaphosa said there was crime in South Africa and the majority of victims were black. Trump cut him off and said, "The farmers are not black." In recent months, Trump has criticized South Africa's land reform law aimed at redressing the injustices of apartheid and its genocide court case against Israel. Israel has probably killed Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Wednesday. An Israeli airstrike on a hospital in southern Gaza targeted Sinwar earlier this month, but his death had not so far been confirmed either by Israel or Hamas. Netanyahu says the entire Gaza Strip will be under Israeli security control by the end of the war, and that Israel is open to temporary ceasefire and a hostage release deal.
And that's it for our package this evening. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Aseidu Dartey.
And I am Portia. Gabor, do join Alfredo Cancer at 10 p.m. for Ghana Tonight. Good evening.